So you've probably heard that the government wants to collect death taxes from us. As a tool to prevent the collection of taxes at their deaths, husband and wives commonly use an irrevocable bypass trust that helps reduce or even eliminate estate taxes. This type of trust has several names. Besides bypass trust, it is also known as a B trust, a credit shelter trust, and it's also oftentimes called an exemption trust. Whatever it's called, however, the main purpose of a bypass trust is to reduce or eliminate estate taxes for married couples with sizable estates. So how does a bypass trust do this? Well, to explain how it works can be quite confusing, but the gist of why it works is not. So in a nutshell, a bypass trust works because it allows married couples to double the amount that they could otherwise leave tax-free to their heirs. But to understand this concept, it is important to point out that married couples are at a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to estate taxes in the first place. You see, typically what happens when one spouse dies is that he or she leaves their half of the estate to their surviving spouse. This isn't a problem at first because transfers between spouses are generally not taxable. But when the surviving spouse passes away, he or she only has one lifetime estate tax exemption to prevent estate taxes. In other words, because the first spouse to pass away just gave his or her assets to the surviving spouse, the lifetime estate tax exemption of that first spouse to die was lost forever. Single people don't have this problem because they just die and leave their assets to whomever, and they get their one lifetime exemption from estate taxes. But in order to preserve the exemption amounts of both a husband and a wife, we create a separate irrevocable bypass trust to hold the assets of the first spouse to die. Since a bypass trust is an irrevocable trust, it cannot be changed. Typically, the assets in it are available for the surviving spouse, but when the surviving spouse dies, those assets are transferred in the way that that bypass trust dictates, which is usually to the husband and wife's children. At the same time, the surviving spouse leaves his or her half of the estate to their heirs also. But these two amounts are separated for tax purposes, so each one of them gets a full exemption from estate taxation. In essence, with this bypass trust, married couples can be treated like single people, and both or two separate lifetime estate tax exemption amounts can be saved. Doubling the estate tax exemption amounts for married couples can literally save hundreds of thousands of dollars in transfer taxes on their total overall estate. For more tax reduction techniques, please see more of the tax reduction videos.